Give me one example. One. This is the problem. If you don't know and you have no thoughts on the matter, then I don't know what we're arguing.
No, we're not.
So when
Tim, can I just make a point? And this
we are in
is
time of war.
In civilized society,
Not true. In times of war, a wartime president makes difficult decisions which are outside what our principles purport to be.
But we're not in the time of war.
And it's also as well, Tim. No, we're not.
So when
Tim, can I just make a point? And this
we are
is
in time of war.
Right. Okay. We'll come to that in a second. When the government takes away rights, it is very difficult, if not almost impossible, for you to get them back. Can we just agree that?
Yes.
So you are willing to give up rights in this society for the government to then come in and then enact against the enemies?
When have humans ever not done that? Give me one example. One.
In civilized society.
Not true. In World War II, the United States implemented the U.S. Office of Censorship and banned people from
it's interesting that you say this, because all anti-Ukraine people in America keep calling Zelensky a dictator for having martial law, which is in line with the Ukrainian constitution, and not having an election like the UK didn't have.
He declared it, and the Constitution says that he can declare it and Congress can uphold it. There's an argument that he can overturn it.
Well, but my point is...
But I agree, in a time of war, presidents do crazy things.
But you are stretching the definition of war way beyond its remit.
No, I'm not. It's called fifth and sixth generational warfare. So we have technological advances in conflict, and they alter how we perceive what war is. If you go back to the earliest days, what is the purpose of a conflict? Why do wars happen? Sometimes they're silly. You don't believe in the same God as me, so you must be destroyed. I mean, these are largely silly, but they have to do with cultural cohesion, so they come from somewhere.
I'm sorry, but calling religious wars silly is just such a wild take. It's not silly at all, like at all. When people actually have convictions and a value system rooted in faith, that matters. You don't just wave that off. Imagine thinking it's silly for followers of God to fight against people literally burning children alive as sacrifices. That's not unreasonable. It's actually a pretty good reason to go to war, honestly.
An evolutionary psychological perspective. But typically it's resource conflict. Resource is the principal driver. I do think it's absolutely hilarious that the East India Trading Company engaged in warfare that resulted in the death of 50,000 people because black peppercorn was a delicacy, was a luxury in Europe and the UK. But typically it's, I don't have enough food or water, and I will take it, and my people will not die. I don't care how I have to get it. And it's the same thing you see at the root level with a man who steals bread because his family is hungry or whatever. We still frown upon it. So the generations of warfare, they evolve. We see the advents of new technologies and new methodologies in warfare all the time. If the purpose of warfare is to secure control of a population so you can control its resources, a tendency for that reason, sometimes it's, you know, my God is better than your God, and your people must adhere to my worldview and my beliefs. So in the United States, we are going through, and this is not my opinion, this is academics who have assessed what warfare is. You get to fourth and fifth generational warfare, and now sixth. Which people are going to argue it as we form these ideas in academia, six may change. But fourth and fifth have to do with online political manipulations of influence technologies, and use of insurgency. Today, it's fair to say that we are in a kinetic conflict. Civil strife began several years ago in the United States. Civil strife is not civil war, but there are many people dying. One of the easiest examples, of course, is Aaron Danielson took 2 bullets to the chest from a far leftist Michael Reinhold with a communist tattoo on his neck for no reason. And now we have the swattings of conservatives and the firebombings of Tesla facilities for the specific goal of destroying a company for political reasons, for which now Tesla stock has gone down. Partially, it's not the only reason. And we've seen Tesla evicted from the Vancouver Auto Show out of fear of terror attacks. This is war. Now, it may not be full-blown hot kinetic conflict, but when you have the arrest of Donald Trump's lawyers, we are dealing with administrative warfare, which is a degree of administrative conflict, which we don't see in previous times based on communications technologies.
I really thought Tim was just being dramatic here. Like, okay, fourth generation warfare, sure, buddy. It sounds like some nerd term you use when you haven't touched grass in a month. But then he starts listing it out, and it's like, wait, he's actually right. When you look at the swattings or the Tesla factory getting firebombed or that guy getting shot in the chest for literally no reason other than who he was, what else do you call that? It's not political friction, it's violence. And then he says administrative warfare, and it clicked. That's exactly what it is. It's using the system itself to hunt people, arresting lawyers, ruining companies, making it so you can't even show up to an auto show because of terror threats. It's war without the soldiers in uniform, which honestly feels way more gross. We're sitting here pretending everything is normal while the floor is literally on fire. It's not a debate anymore. We're in it, and nobody wants to admit it because admitting it means things are actually as bad as they look. It's scary.
If you go back several hundred years, how do I secure control of a population? I occupy their street corners with weapons, and my weapons are better than yours. You've got clubs, I've got pointy sticks with metal on them. Eventually, we have airstrikes, air raids, howitzers, nuclear artillery, and machine guns. I send my guys into your country, they stand in the street corner, you do as you're told. The people are mad about it, they might fight back. Today, it's actually really easy. I will flood your community with information that terrifies you as to what is true and what is not, so you are occupied. Notably, we saw the use of sock puppets in the Arab Spring, largely in Libya, where, based on a report from Project PM, the United States Air Force was purchasing from private security contractors sock puppet social media accounts. One individual would operate 50 fake social media accounts to create the public perception that the overthrowing of Gaddafi was the right thing to do. The Americans then supported airstrikes and the collapse of the Libyan government, which I think is largely a horrifying thing. Not that I much care for Libya, but now you have the North African slave trade reigniting and militias blowing each other up. Why did Americans support it? Because fifth generational warfare was waged on the American people to make them feel like they were under occupation, figuratively, but in a sense, literally as well. Why put a man on a street corner with a machine gun when you can simply inundate them with fake accounts to convince them you must do this or else? So what we end up with is the era of cancel culture and those bending the knee quite literally to an ideology. Did most people agree with intersectional feminism and woke ideology? Of course not. It's a minority. Why did so many people let it happen? Because they feared that there was some group that would come after them and destroy them. They feared that they were under occupation, that the institutions are controlled. I will lose my job. I will lose my livelihood. My bank will freeze my accounts. My social media will remove me from society. I have no choice but to live this way, even though I don't like it. That is war, but it's changed. And they want you to believe that you're not fighting a war. But as the faction of bureaucrats and powerful elites who have been running these companies have been engaging in this war, they've become increasingly more desperate as those of us who believe in more Enlightenment principles and have opposed this, have started to break through and shift dramatically to the point where Donald Trump actually was able to win. Now we have desperation, and desperation begets more hot conflict. This is why I believe we may be on the back end of this conflict. We may be coming off of it. But the idea that, to go back to, a wartime action from a president, I'd put it this way. What does that mean in today's context? Am I arguing that Donald Trump should go round people up without charge or trial? Absolutely not. That should never happen.
Tim is spot on here, and it's honestly terrifying. You don't need soldiers on the corner anymore when you can just mess with everyone's heads from a laptop. The whole Libya thing, one guy running 50 fake accounts to fake a revolution, that is insane. It's digital occupation. He's right. People aren't following this woke stuff because they love it. They're doing it because they're scared. They don't want to lose their bank accounts or get deleted from society. It's a war of nerves, basically. But can we talk about the hosts for a second? Konstantin and Francis are just sitting there. They were so loud and combative 2 minutes ago, and now they've got nothing. It's awkward as hell. Like, have a backbone, say something. You have this massive platform, and you're just acting like dweebs while Tim explains how the world is actually falling apart. It feels like they're scared to even touch the reality of what he's saying. Are we in this fight, or are we just gonna sit in a studio and stare? Tim's actually making sense, and they look like they've completely checked out.
Trump he jokingly said, but probably only half jokingly, the people who are firebombing Teslas, maybe they can spend 20 years in an El Salvador in prison, which I hear are not so good. Mr. President, I do not appreciate you entertaining violating the Eighth Amendment. American citizens who commit crimes go to American jails, and they should be treated with dignity and respect, even if we despise them. So I don't appreciate those jokes. And if it comes to that, and he actually tries sending American citizens to El Salvador, I will be opposed in every form that I can, and it's going to be interesting if it gets to that degree. That being said, what it comes to an actual wartime president in Trump is, when Trump issues a legal order, executive order, saying, we will not have these people in our military, I'm the commander-in-chief, he's allowed to do it. If a judge tries to stop him in this administrative conflict, Donald Trump, I believe, is obligated to say, I have heard the ruling from the court, now try and enforce it, which is a play on Andrew Jackson's famous quote when the Supreme Court ruled against him. In the conflict we are in,
this guy wasn't the Supreme Court. There's a whole legal process yet to go through, which is part of the American process. Now, I appreciate what you're saying, but it just sounds to me like you're redefining wars to give yourself more power.
I didn't define them.
Which is what every
Academics
dictator has always done in history, which is to say, the situation's so bad, I need extra power
Is
to
Abraham
deal
Lincoln a
with this.
dictator?
Well, look,
Yes or no?
we are not in a war situation.
Is Abraham Lincoln a dictator?
We are not in a war situation, is the point.
Was Abraham Lincoln a dictator?
We are not in a war situation, is the point.
Okay, you are right. I'll just say you're right. Okay, now is Abraham Lincoln a dictator?
So, look,
Yes or no?
Tim, the theoretical examples you give,
It's not a theoretic, it's American history.
fine, but it's not related to the current moment, which is what we're talking about.
So in the
So
context
you are saying,
of
let me just lay out the argument that you made. If I represent it incorrectly, you tell me. The core of your argument that you're making, right, is that because we are in a fourth, fifth, sixth generational warfare situation, a different set of rules ought to apply. It's a wartime, therefore, just like you can apply martial law, just like you can suspend this or that or whatever, right? And the point I'm making to you is this is the argument that every dictator in history has made. Now, I don't know American history as well as you, and maybe the point that you make about Abraham Lincoln is relevant in some way, but what I'm saying to you is something completely different, which is we're not in a war.
Okay, so let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Was Abraham Lincoln a dictator, yes or no?
I don't know.
You don't. If a leader suspended the right to due process for all peoples, is that a dictatorial move?
It depends on the context.
So, like right now, if Trump said, I'm suspending the constitutional rights and due process for far-left terrorists.
Look, I'm not a legal scholar. That seems pretty extreme to me. Yeah.
What if Donald Trump decided he was going to arrest the half of the Washington state body because they were voting in favor of groups that were attacking Tesla facilities?
What does that mean, voting in favor of?
So let's say in their state body, someone proposes a bill that they will not arrest nor provide any assistance to any individual in their state who's caught firebombing Tesla facilities or other right-aligned institutions. The state will not enforce the law against them, nor will they aid federal law enforcement.
Yeah, I don't know what the answer to that question is legally, but my point to you is...